On Monday, the scent of roasting turkey drifted across Margaret's garden, mingling with the crisp autumn air as I leaned against the wrought iron garden table, my childhood sanctuary in this house. Despite everything, there was something calming about the familiar corner, tucked away from the noise of family gatherings. My laptop screen glowed with third-quarter financials, the numbers representing years of work no one inside that house would understand. My phone buzzed against the metal tabletop. The caller ID read, Caro and Slate, the auction house that had given me my first break 15 years ago. Eden Clark, I answered, keeping my voice low. Eden, it's Jennifer. We've got a situation with the Singapore verification. The urgency in her voice pulled me upright. The Burmese sapphire we flagged last month? The seller's demanding a secondary analysis. I glanced toward the house where I'd just spent $6,000 on catering a peace offering no one would appreciate. Send me the specs. I'll run it through our latest algorithm myself. Inside the house, my sister's laughter carried through the kitchen window, that specific pitch she used to ensure everyone knew she was having fun. Different laugh. Same Madeline. Eden? Did you hear me? Sorry, Jennifer. I refocused. Tell him our verification stands. If he wants another opinion, he's welcome to try elsewhere, but when that stone fails every other test, he'll be back. Will do. And Eden? Enjoy your family time, Jennifer added before disconnecting. Family time. As if we'd ever been that kind of family. I closed my eyes briefly, mentally calculating how long I needed to stay before making a graceful exit. The math wasn't working in my favor. Grandmother Margaret insisted I stay through dinner, and I never could say no to her. The sliding glass door opened behind me. There she is. Madeline sauntered across the patio, her heels clicking with deliberate slowness. Working on Thanksgiving. Mom says you've been out here for an hour. I smiled tightly. Just wrapping something up. Madeline leaned against the table, designer jeans and sweater that cost more than she should be able to afford. Always the responsible one, she said, her voice dripping with mock admiration. She glanced at my screen. What's got you so captivated? Quarterly reports? She laughed, as if the very concept was absurd. When I didn't answer, she pushed off the table and reached for my laptop. Come on, Eden. Family tradition, no work on holidays. My hand shot out. Madeline. Let everyone see what boring antique work Eden is doing. She danced backward, laptop in hand, moving with surprising quickness for someone supposedly dealing with ongoing medical issues. Madeline, don't! But she was already sliding open the door, laptop held above her head like a trophy. Look what I found, she called, striding into the dining room where our parents were arranging place settings on the table I'd paid for. Eden's been hiding in the garden doing boring work stuff. I followed, my heart hammering as Madeline set my laptop on the dining table with theatrical flair. Who wants to see what has Eden too busy for family? Mother looked up, her carefully styled silver hair catching the light from the chandelier. Eden, really, it's Thanksgiving. Let's see what's more important than us, Madeline said, spinning the screen around. The room fell silent. On the screen, in clean, professional typography, account summary, Clark Authenticity Group, total liquid assets, $11 million. My father's face paled. Mother's jaw dropped. The silence stretched, pulling tighter with each passing second. Mother broke first, her face flushing a dangerous shade of purple. You let us struggle? The words exploded from her. All these years? Struggle? I repeated, genuinely confused. I've been sending $2,000 every month for... A measly $2,000? Father's voice rose. When you had millions? Madeline's eyes widened with a theatricality I recognized from childhood, the prelude to tears designed to shift attention. I was sick? She whispered, right on cue. You knew how sick I was. Her voice cracked perfectly. All those treatments we couldn't afford. You owe me. I watched them, feeling strangely calm despite my racing heart. This was the pattern, had always been the pattern. Eden, the responsible one. Eden, the afterthought. Eden, who was packed off to grandmother's house at 9 years old when Madeline got sick, because someone had to go, and it couldn't be the favorite. Your sister needed specialized care. Mother continued, gathering steam. We remortgaged the house for her treatments. My mind flashed to payments marked medical, mortgage support in my accounting software. 4 years of payments. $96,000. And now we find out you've been hoarding money? Father demanded. Your own family in need. And you've been… My company, I said quietly. They continued talking over me. My money, I said, my voice firmer, cutting through their accusations. The room fell silent again, this time with shock rather than surprise. Madeline recovered first, her tactics shifting instantly. But after everything we've done for you, she said, her voice dropping to a wounded whisper. All the sacrifices. What sacrifices exactly? I asked, my pulse oddly steady now. Which sacrifices are we talking about? Mother stepped forward. This money is keeping a roof over our heads, she hissed. Your sister's health. The house is paid off, I said. I checked the county records last year. It's been paid off for 7 years. Father moved to Mother's side. You have no right to check our financial… I have every right to know where my money goes, I countered. Every right to verify what I'm told. Mother scoffed. Always so cold, Eden. So calculating. This is family. Family, I repeated, the word feeling strange in my mouth. Madeline sniffled dramatically. I can't believe you'd do this to us. I looked at them, really looked at them. Mother, the financial manipulator who had orchestrated years of deception. Father, the enabler who always sided with Madeline, no matter the circumstance. Madeline, the entitled princess who had leveraged childhood illness into a lifetime of privilege, and in the corner, silent but watchful, my grandmother Margaret. Our eyes met across the room, and she gave me a subtle, approving nod. Something shifted inside me. A lifetime of being the strong one, the responsible one, the overlooked one. A flashback hit me standing in the kitchen at 16, holding my SAT scores, 1,580. Mother glancing at it, saying, "That's nice, dear," before turning back to Madeline's participation ribbon from the school art fair, proudly displayed on the refrigerator. I felt a familiar wave of guilt rising, the automatic response to soothe tensions, to make peace, to sacrifice. But beneath it, something else was growing, something that felt like resolve. I felt a gentle pressure on my shoulder. Grandmother Margaret had crossed the room to stand beside me, her hand squeezing gently. Strength flowed from that touch, the only person who had ever seen me for who I was. My spine straightened. Years of resentment crystallized into something harder, clearer. I closed my laptop with a decisive click and slid it into my bag. The silence in the room was absolute as I helped grandmother to her feet, collected my purse, and walked toward the door. I paused at the threshold, turning back to the family that had never truly been mine. "Dinner's paid for," I said quietly. "Enjoy." On Wednesday morning, the Chicago skyline glows against the evening darkness as I sit alone in my office, the 43rd floor offering a perfect vantage point over a city that never truly sleeps. I've been staring at the same spreadsheet for nearly an hour, my finger hovering over the mouse button, unable to scroll past the damning evidence. 4 years of monthly transfers, $2,000 each, labeled medical, mortgage support, $96,000. Records don't lie. I whisper to the empty room. People do. I pull up the archived voicemail from 3 years ago, saved in my cloud storage alongside every other piece of family communication, a habit developed through years of running Clark Authenticity Group, where verification isn't just our business model but my personal religion. Mother's voice fills the room, the familiar cadence of controlled hysteria that always preceded financial requests. "Eden, we need to talk about the second mortgage." Her voice cracks perfectly. "The medical bills for Madeline are piling up, and we just don't know what to do anymore. Please call me back when you can." I close my eyes, remembering how quickly I'd responded, arranging the automatic monthly transfers without requiring documentation. Family was family, after all. And Madeline had been sick as a child, that part was true. The rest. The property records website loads on my second monitor. 3 clicks later, the truth stares back at me. Mortgage satisfaction, recorded. Dated 7 years ago. No second mortgage. No current debt on the property. "Of course," I murmur, reaching for my phone. Time to verify the medical claims. Madeline's Instagram account appears on my screen public, since she bills herself as a mid-tier lifestyle influencer these days. I scroll backward methodically, cataloging posts against my payment timeline. February 9th, 2 days after my $2,000 transfer, Madeline posing with a Prada handbag. Caption: Treat yourself, you deserve it, blessed. April 12th. 3 days after another transfer, Madeline at a resort in Dubai. Caption: Sometimes you just need to escape. Travel bug. Desert style. June 15th. 1 day after transfer, Madeline at a spa retreat. Caption: Self-care isn't selfish when it's necessary. Healing. Journey. My stomach tightens as the pattern becomes undeniable. Every monthly deposit followed by Madeline's luxury purchases, all while mother's voicemails continued with variations of the same narrative. Ongoing treatments, mounting bills, family sacrifice. The architecture of their deception reveals itself with brutal clarity. Mother as the mastermind, orchestrating financial manipulation across years with tearful calls strategically timed before holidays or family birthdays. Madeline as the willing accomplice, leveraging her childhood illness into a perpetual claim on my resources while documenting her actual lifestyle for social media validation. Their strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Manufacture crises that required my financial intervention, keep the amounts just modest enough not to trigger suspicion, and respond with emotional manipulation whenever I asked for details. A perfect system that had extracted nearly $100,000. I lean back in my chair, my mind racing beyond the financial implications. If they had been taking advantage for years, what happens when I cut them off? My entire professional reputation is built on trust and verification. Clark Authenticity Group provides certification services to the world's most prestigious auction houses. What if my family creates a public scene? What if they show up at client meetings? The $24,000 annual drain is ending tonight, which means they'll need to find that money elsewhere or come after me more aggressively. The Chicago skyline blurs slightly as I stare out the window. Grandmother Margaret's words from decades ago floating back to me. Make something that's yours, Eden, and never owe them thanks. I reach for my phone again, open the banking app, and navigate to the recurring payment section. My finger hovers over Cancel Automatic Transfer, as years of conditioning battle with newfound clarity. The hesitation lasts 3 seconds before I press Confirm Cancellation. A confirmation message appears. Monthly transfer of $2,000 to Helen Clark has been canceled. Something shifts inside my chest, a lightning, as if a weight I've carried for so long I'd stopped noticing it has suddenly lifted. I take a deep breath, perhaps the first full one in years. The office phone rings, jarring me from the moment. The caller ID shows Stephanie Reeves, our PR director. Eden, sorry to call so late, she says when I answer. The London client wants to move tomorrow's verification demonstration to Thursday. Should I? Stephanie, can you meet me early tomorrow? I interrupt. I need your advice on a potential personal situation that might affect the company. A pause. Of course. Is everything all right? It will be, I say with unexpected confidence. I need to prepare for possible family fallout. I've been supporting them financially for years, and I just ended it. They may not take it well. Another brief silence. I'll be there at 7, she says, her voice shifting to the efficient tone I value in my executive team. And I'll bring the protocol for handling unwanted visitors. After hanging up, I create a new folder on my secure drive. Family Financial Support Documentation. Into it goes every transfer record, every saved voicemail, screenshots of Madeline's corresponding purchases, and the county property records showing the paid-off mortgage. I send a brief email to building security, updating the authorized visitors list, and removing my family members who had standing access. A separate message goes to our receptionist, Sarah, warning her about potential unauthorized visitors in the coming days. My reflection in the window looks different somehow, shoulders straighter, jaw more defined. I built this company through verification, I tell myself quietly. Time to verify my family. My phone buzzes with an incoming call. Grandmother Margaret's name appears on the screen. You did the right thing, she says without preamble when I answer. I shouldn't be surprised she somehow knows. Margaret has always seen through the family dynamics with perfect clarity. How did you? Helen called me ranting about ungrateful children and her upcoming bills. Margaret explains, her voice carrying the wisdom of her 82 years. I figured you'd finally seen through it. $96,000, Margaret. And the house has been paid off for years. I know, she sighs. I tried to tell you, but you weren't ready to hear it. We sit in comfortable silence for a moment before she adds, your legal team should prepare a statement of facts, just in case. After our call ends, I forward the documentation folder to our legal counsel with a brief message requesting a review of my financial obligations to family members. Their response comes quickly. No legal obligation exists. We'll prepare defensive documentation if needed. My executive assistant Maria sends a text. Heard from Stephanie about tomorrow's early meeting. I'll handle any family calls that come in. You focus on London client prep. Another message arrives from our security director. Updated visitor protocols. No one reaches your floor without explicit approval. Finally, an email notification from our London client. Looking forward to Thursday's demonstration. Your verification systems have never let us down. We trust your judgment implicitly. That night, I sleep without my usual 3 a.m. anxiety wake-up for the first time in years. My morning ritual feels different, shoulders relaxed, breathing deeper, mind clearer. The bittersweet realization that my family relationships may be permanently altered sits alongside a strange, new peace. When I check my phone, the notification screen shows 8 missed calls, 3 from mother, 2 from father, and 3 from Madeline. I set the phone down without listening to their voicemails. The boundary has been drawn. I can love them from a distance. I tell my reflection in the bathroom mirror, the words feeling both painful and liberating. For the first time in my adult life, I'm choosing myself. The intercom on my desk buzzes a week after Thanksgiving. Sarah's voice carries an edge I've never heard from my usually composed receptionist. Miss Clark? I'm sorry to disturb you, but there are people in the lobby insisting they need to see you immediately. I'm reviewing verification algorithms when her voice comes through, but something in her tone makes me set aside my work. People? 3 individuals claiming to be your family. Her voice drops slightly. They're causing a scene. The woman, your mother, I believe is demanding to see you and refusing to leave. The gentleman is throwing his weight around, telling security he has every right to see his daughter. And there's a younger woman filming everything on her phone. My stomach drops. Helen, Thomas, Madeline, of course. The monthly payment didn't arrive. I've explained you're in meetings all day, but they're being quite insistent, Sarah continues. Should I call building security? For a moment, panic floods through me, the familiar reflex of a lifetime spent avoiding confrontation, especially with family. Then, surprisingly, calm settles over me like a protective shield. I rise from my desk and move to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office. Chicago stretches below me, 42 floors down. The distance feels symbolic somehow. Straightening my charcoal designer blazer, I catch my reflection in the window. I barely recognize the woman staring back, composed, powerful, certain. Ethan, our security director, appears in my doorway. Miss Clark, I can handle this for you. His voice carries the confidence of someone who's managed far worse situations. Just say the word. I turn from the window. Decision made. Please handle it. They are trespassers. Pressing the intercom button, I speak clearly into the system, my voice carrying down to the lobby. Sarah, I have no family by that name. Call building security and have these trespassers removed. I release the button, taking a deep breath before heading to the elevator bank. This isn't a retreat, it's reinforcement. As the doors slide open on the ground floor, I catch sight of them immediately, their backs to me as they face the reception desk. Building security officers are already positioning themselves strategically around the lobby. Madeline notices me first, her phone raised theatrically as she films what's happening. She's sobbing the same performance I've witnessed countless times, amplified now for her social media audience. Eden. Helen whirls around, her face contorted with the righteous indignation she's perfected over decades. After everything we've done for you. Thomas steps forward, using his height to loom over me, a tactic that worked when I was 9, 16, 25. You think cutting us off solves anything? We raised you. You owe us everything you have. The security team moves closer, forming a protective barrier. I remain perfectly still, my voice steady. Please escort them out. If they return, call the police for trespassing. We're your family. Helen lunges toward me, only to be blocked by one of the security officers. How dare you treat us like criminals? This isn't over, Thomas growls, his face reddening. You think you can just walk away from family obligations? There are laws, Eden. Filial responsibility laws. Madeline's camera keeps rolling, but I notice something shift in her expression. Shock that her usual tactics aren't working. For once, she's not the center of this drama. Sarah stands calmly behind her desk, handling the disruption with professional poise. From the mezzanine above, I glimpse members of my executive team watching, their presence a silent show of support. Near the elevators, Marcus Williams, a major client who happened to be arriving for our afternoon meeting, observes the scene with raised eyebrows. Quite the security protocol you have here, Eden, he murmurs as he approaches. If you need a witness statement, I'd be happy to provide one. My phone buzzes in my pocket. A text message from grandmother Margaret. Stand your ground. I turn to the head of security. Escort them out. If they return, call the police for trespassing. You can't do this. Helen lunges toward me again, her fingers curled like claws. The security officer steps smoothly between us. You'll regret this. Thomas threatens, his voice dropping to the quiet tone that once preceded his worst moods. This isn't over, Eden. Madeline's theatrical sobs have stopped. Her phone still records, but her expression has shifted to something I've rarely seen on her face, genuine surprise. The script has changed, and for once, she doesn't know her lines. I turn my back on them and walk to the elevator without looking back. The doors close on the sound of my mother's shrill protests and my father's threats. Alone in my office, I sink into my chair, hands trembling now that the confrontation is over. The composure that carried me through crumbles like a facade, revealing what lies beneath. Rage, grief, and something unexpected relief. A memory surfaces, hiding in my bedroom closet at 7 years old after breaking a dish, learning early that showing emotion was dangerous. The pattern had continued into adulthood. Be strong, don't react, keep the peace. For the first time in decades, I give myself permission to feel everything at once. The rage, at years of manipulation. The grief for the family I never truly had. The relief of finally saying no. Tears come suddenly, violently, years of suppressed emotion flooding out. I don't try to stop them. Each sob feels like releasing a piece of the past, washing away years of obligation. When the tears finally stop, I look out at the Chicago skyline, the afternoon sun glinting off glass buildings. Something fundamental has shifted inside me. The trembling in my hands has ceased. I'm free, I whisper to the empty office. The next morning, I create a detailed timeline of financial support and family demands, organizing everything chronologically. 4 years of monthly payments marked medical, mortgage support. Documentation of Helen's tearful calls claiming financial emergencies. Records proving their house mortgage was paid off 7 years ago. I review the security footage from yesterday's confrontation, watching it with clinical detachment. My legal team receives copies, along with the complete financial history. This is quite comprehensive. My attorney remarks, reviewing the documentation. Are you anticipating legal action? I'm preparing for every contingency, I reply. Security protocols at the office are enhanced. The receptionist now has a direct alert button connected to building security. The PR team monitors social media for any posts from Madeline about the confrontation. A cease and desist letter is drafted but not sent. Evidence is organized but held in reserve. Let them make the next move. 1 week later, a certified mail envelope arrives on my desk. I open it carefully, extracting legal documents. A lawsuit Thomas and Helen Clark suing for filial support, claiming their financial struggles are my responsibility. I feel my lips curve into a smile as I read through the poorly constructed legal arguments. Picking up my phone, I call my legal team. They just walked into our trap. I tell them, my finger resting on an evidence binder already labeled with the court case number, waiting for exactly this moment. Let's proceed. My legal team exchanges glances. Miranda, head counsel, nods approvingly. They walked right into it. On the tablet before us, Madeline's Instagram video plays on mute, the office confrontation edited to remove security, blocking her lunge toward me, making my calm departure appear cold and heartless. The timestamp shows it's already garnered 50,000 views since last night. Local Michigan stations are running with Helen's interviews, says Derek from PR, swiping to footage of my mother dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. Thomas has been calling your clients directly. And? I ask, my voice steady. None have dropped yet. 3 called to verify your side of the story. I've built a business on verification. Fitting that it would save me now. The door opens and Grandmother Margaret enters, elegant in a charcoal pantsuit that reminds me where I learned my sense of style. At 84, she stands straighter than most women half her age. I caught the early flight, she says, taking the seat beside me. Her hand covers mine briefly, the same gesture that gave me strength to walk away at Thanksgiving. Miranda outlines our counter-strategy while I study the evidence we've assembled. Exhibit A. 4 years of monthly $2,000 payments marked medical, mortgage support. Exhibit B. Screenshots of Madeline's social media showing luxury purchases timed perfectly with my transfers. Exhibit C. County records proving the mortgage was paid off 7 years ago. We don't panic, I tell the team. We don't engage directly. We continue business as usual. Eden, Miranda interjects. They're claiming you assaulted Madeline. The edited video is missing the security footage that shows the truth, I finish for her. File our response to the lawsuit with all evidence attached. The truth speaks for itself. I have. Derek looks concerned. Public sympathy is currently with your family. Sympathy based on lies collapses when facts emerge. I close the binder with finality. Set the deadline for withdrawing their lawsuit at 24 hours, or we countersue for fraud. As the team disperses, I remain seated, something settling in my chest, not dread, but resolution. You're not rushing to defend yourself publicly. Margaret observes when we're alone. Would you? I ask. No. She pours tea from the service I'd ordered. Sometimes silence is the best revenge. I wrap my hands around the warm cup, reminded of childhood afternoons in her garden. I used to think if I just succeeded enough, they'd finally see me. And now? Now I realize they've always seen me. They just saw someone they could use. The admission should hurt, but instead feels like setting down a heavy weight. I don't need their approval anymore. Margaret's smile is small but approving. So what now? We focus on facts, not emotions. We'll let the evidence tell the story. Over the next several hours, I continue ordinary business operations while Derek monitors the situation. Madeline has contacted 3 of my competitors for sponsorship deals. Helen attempted to reach my biggest client directly. Thomas gave an interview claiming the medical expenses were legitimate, contradicting Helen's earlier statement about using the money for home repairs. With each desperate move, they entangle themselves further in their own lies. By evening, our trap is ready to spring. I review the cease and desist letter before it's delivered, along with copies of our evidence packet. Exhibit A, I murmur, flipping through the pages. Every transaction marked exactly as Helen instructed. Medical, mortgage support. Exhibit B, Madeline's Instagram showing her Dubai vacation using Blessed, posted the same day my money hit their account. Exhibit C, county records proving the mortgage Helen claimed they were still paying was satisfied 7 years ago. That night, Margaret and I have dinner in my penthouse. The Chicago skyline sparkles through floor-to-ceiling windows, the view I earned through years of work they never acknowledged. Your team is impressive, Margaret says, watching me cut vegetables for a salad. They rally around you like family should. They respect me. I pause, knife hovering. That's all I ever wanted from them. I know, dear. My phone buzzes with a notification from Derek. Madeline's latest post is losing traction. 3 sponsors have contacted us privately, asking about the situation. The PR team has been carefully managing media inquiries without engaging directly. Building security maintains a visitor log showing Helen's attempts to enter yesterday. 2 clients have sent emails affirming their continued faith in my company. Industry colleagues have reached out offering statements supporting my professional integrity. Margaret's presence lends legitimacy to my side of the story, the respected family matriarch, choosing my truth over theirs. They underestimated you, Margaret says, watching me read updates. They always have. By morning, the first cracks appear. Thomas calls my direct line, which I don't answer. Madeline sends a tearful video message I delete without watching. Helen leaves a voicemail that starts with please and deteriorates into the true nature of her feelings. You ungrateful, cold-hearted. I disconnect before hearing the rest. At exactly 24 hours after delivery of our cease and desist letter, Miranda calls with news. They've withdrawn the lawsuit. Her voice carries professional satisfaction. And the media narrative is already shifting. Someone leaked portions of our evidence packet. I don't ask who. Some things are better left unspoken. Within hours, 2 of Madeline's remaining sponsors drop her. A Detroit investigative reporter contacts our office requesting comment on a story about social media fraud and family financial manipulation. We decline to comment, but provide public record references that would be helpful for fact-checking. By evening, reports reach us that the family's social standing in their Michigan community is rapidly deteriorating as the truth spreads. Thomas has been asked to step down from the Neighborhood Association board. Helen's garden club friends are suddenly too busy to return her calls. Madeline's local boutique partnerships are being quietly discontinued. The most telling sign comes from Margaret's neighbor in Michigan, who reports seeing Thomas and Helen arguing in their driveway, his voice carrying, "I told you we pushed too far." When Margaret retires to the guest suite that evening, I stand alone at the windows, watching lights blink across the city. My phone buzzes with a text from Madeline, the first direct communication since Thanksgiving. "Please, Eden, we need to talk." I set the phone down without responding. The family unity that presented such a solid front is fracturing under pressure. They're turning on each other as the truth exposes their deception. For the first time since this began, I feel neither anger nor satisfaction, just a quiet certainty that I've finally broken free of patterns established long ago. The invisible child they overlooked has become a woman they cannot ignore, cannot manipulate, cannot control. I pick up my tablet and make a note for tomorrow's meeting. Margaret Hollis Scholarship Fund. Initial endowment, $2 million. The family that failed to value me has lost the right to my success. But others will benefit from what I've built. That feels like justice, more satisfying than any revenge. 3 days later, the morning sun streamed through my penthouse windows as I stared at Madeline's apology video playing on my tablet. My sister's eyes brimmed with practiced tears, her voice catching at precisely calculated intervals. "I only wanted what was best for our family," she whispered into the camera. "My sister Eden misunderstood our intentions. We've always supported her success." I paused the video, taking a slow sip of coffee. In the reflection of my window, I could see Margaret watching me from the doorway, her weathered hands gripping her walking cane. "Quite the performance," Margaret said, moving to join me. She always did have a flair for the dramatic. My phone buzzed with an incoming call, the 5th today, from a childhood friend I hadn't spoken to in years. Thomas had been busy, recruiting people from my past to apply pressure. I silenced it without looking. "They're getting desperate," I said, setting my cup down. Helen left another message claiming her blood pressure is dangerously high from the stress of this family misunderstanding. Margaret's expression remained impassive. And yet she found the strength to call 3 of my bridge club friends to explain how you abandoned your poor, sick sister. My PR director's name flashed on my screen, and I answered immediately. "Eden, we have a situation." Maria's voice was tense. Madeline's threatening a defamation lawsuit over the financial records, and Helen's attorney contacted us about emotional distress damages. Let me guess, they're also behind the sudden flood of 1-star reviews on our verification platform. "Yes. And someone's been reaching out to your investors. Not directly identifiable as your family, but the timing isn't coincidental." I ended the call and turned to find Margaret studying me. "They've never fought fair," she said simply. Before I could respond, my phone rang again, this time from our largest potential client. My stomach tightened as I answered. "Miss Clark, we need to discuss this family situation before proceeding with our contract," said Jonathan Wells, CEO of International Appraisals. "The board is concerned about negative publicity affecting our reputation." The contract was worth millions. For a fleeting moment, doubt crept in, was proving my family wrong, worth jeopardizing everything I'd built. After ending the call, I found Margaret still watching me. "Is it worth it?" I asked her. "All this drama could cost us the international contract." Margaret reached for my hand. "This isn't revenge, Eden. It's justice. Not just for you, but for every invisible child who was taught to make themselves smaller." Her words settled something inside me. I straightened my shoulders and reached for my laptop. "Call the legal team," I told Maria when she answered. "It's time." 3 days later, I stood in my office as notifications flooded my phone. The Detroit Tribune's headline blazed across digital platforms nationwide. The influencer and the family fraud. How a Michigan family exploited their daughter's success. The investigative reporter had done thorough work. The article laid out a meticulous timeline. My monthly payments labeled for medical costs and mortgage support. County records showing the house paid off 7 years ago. Madeline's Instagram posts of Dubai vacations and designer purchases timed perfectly with my financial support. Most damning was the unedited security footage from our office confrontation, showing Helen lunging toward me while Thomas threatened. The contrast with the heavily edited clip Madeline had shared online was stark and undeniable. "It's everywhere," Maria reported, her voice vibrating with controlled excitement. 3 of Madeline's major sponsors have already pulled out. The Tribune's server crashed from traffic. I watched silently as my phone lit up with notifications. My team had executed the plan perfectly, the anonymous delivery of evidence to the reporter, the strategic timing after Madeline's tearful video had peaked in views, the comprehensive documentation creating an airtight case. Your foresight in preserving every email, every receipt, every transfer. It gave the reporter everything needed for the story, Maria continued. Margaret joined me by the window, watching the Chicago skyline as if it reflected the seismic shift happening in our world. "They never expected you to fight back," she observed. "They certainly never expected you to be better at it than they were." Reports filtered in throughout the day. Madeline's remaining sponsors had terminated her contracts. Thomas's business associates were distancing themselves. Helen's country club membership committee was convening an emergency meeting about her status. The family who had manipulated the narrative for decades found themselves unable to refute documentary evidence of their own actions. Their carefully constructed image crumbled under the weight of verifiable facts. My phone continued buzzing with interview requests from major networks, lifestyle magazines, business publications. I declined them all. Instead, I drafted a simple statement. The evidence speaks for itself. I will not be commenting further on private family matters. Said. Then I added a second paragraph announcing the establishment of the Margaret Hollis Scholarship Fund for overlooked students with a $2 million endowment. "That's the exact amount they tried to take from you," Margaret noted quietly as I showed her the draft. "It seemed appropriate," I replied. "The money they coveted will now help students who are overlooked just as I was." The announcement created exactly the pivot I'd hoped for. Business publications focused on the scholarship rather than the family drama. Industry leaders praised the initiative. The conversation shifted from scandal to philanthropy in less than 24 hours. Over the next 2 weeks, the repercussions continued. Madeline's follower count plummeted as her carefully curated image of authentic living collapsed. Thomas, whose professional connections had quietly distanced themselves, took a job as a greeter at a local store. Helen, once the social director of her community, faced empty tables at her usual lunch spots. The family that had exploited my success for years now found themselves without access to my resources or anyone else's. Their credibility had evaporated along with their financial security. I was reviewing final contracts for the international appraisals deal, now secured despite the family drama, when Margaret brought me a cream-colored envelope. "It arrived by certified mail," she said, placing it on my desk. "From Helen." The handwritten letter sat unopened as evening shadows stretched across my penthouse. Margaret found me still staring at it hours later. "Whatever you choose," she said gently. "Choose for you." I ran my fingers over the envelope, feeling the slight tremor in my hand. After everything, the deception, the manipulation, the public attacks, Helen still had the power to make my heart race. But as I gazed out at the Chicago skyline, lights twinkling like stars against the darkening sky, I realized the racing wasn't fear anymore. It was freedom. The unopened letter could wait. Maybe forever. The morning light streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, painting golden patterns across the Italian marble floors of my Chicago penthouse. 6 months have passed since the family confrontation that changed everything. I run my fingers along the sleek quartz countertop, a deliberate choice for its clarity and strength, qualities I've claimed for myself. Eden? Margaret calls from the lake view sitting area. Tea's getting cold. I carry the antique silver tray toward my grandmother, who sits regally by the window overlooking Lake Michigan. The teacups, the same delicate bone china she used when I stayed with her at 9 years old, catch the morning light. We've come full circle. Margaret lives in the guest suite now, with a private nurse who comes daily. At 83, she remains the backbone of my world, though her hands tremble slightly as she lifts her cup. Nervous about tomorrow? She asks. The University of Michigan commencement speech has occupied my thoughts for weeks. Not nervous, just wanting to get it right. You always do. Her eyes still sharp despite cataracts forming at the edges, study me over the rim of her teacup. You know, I say, you were the only one who ever saw me. Margaret sets down her cup with a soft clink. I didn't see you, Eden. I recognized you. Her weathered hand covers mine. There's a difference. The distinction resonates in my chest. Recognition. Not discovery, but confirmation of what was always there. The London office opens next month, I say, changing the subject. And Tokyo by Christmas? Her eyebrow arches knowingly. I nod. Clark Authenticity Group has expanded beyond my wildest projections. What began as verification software for auction houses now serves jewelers across 3 continents. The quarterly reports show a 30% increase since last year, numbers I review without guilt, without feeling I should hide my success or apologize for it. The company thrives precisely because I stopped carrying the weight of family obligation that never should have been mine. The realization arrived gradually during therapy sessions that being the strong one wasn't a compliment, but a manipulation tactic, keeping me responsible for others' happiness while diminishing my own. Later that evening, Maria arranges flowers for the small dinner gathering, just 8 of us celebrating the legal team's final victory in securing international patents. My executive assistant has become more than an employee. She's part of the chosen family I've built. To authenticity, Daniel from legal says, raising his glass as we finish dessert. In gemstones and in life. And to Margaret, adds Sophia, my PR director, the woman who showed Eden how to recognize herself. Everyone stands, glasses raised toward my grandmother. Her eyes glisten as she nods regally, accepting the tribute. After dinner, I show them out and return to find Margaret looking at the envelope still sitting in my desk drawer, my mother's handwritten letter that arrived 3 months ago. Have you decided? She asks. I slide the drawer closed. I have. The letter will remain unopened, not from bitterness but from choice. My story continues forward, not backward. When everyone has gone, I open my journal leather-bound, a gift from the young entrepreneur I've been mentoring. I write the final entry of this chapter of my life, pen scratching against crisp paper. The invisible child learned to shine and stopped apologizing for the light. I close the journal with a decisive click and place it on the shelf. Margaret stands in the doorway, her silhouette outlined against the Chicago skyline. Ready? She asks. I nod and take her arm. Together, we turn toward the future,